Next, how faith, religion, and modesty are influencing style for Muslim women. Jeffrey Brown reports on how modest fashion grew into a multi-billion-dollar business and why it is now being celebrated in brand new ways.
It's a fashion show in a museum with an unusual focus. This is an exhibition of contemporary Muslim fashion, the first of its kind in the U.S., put together by the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco.
It's an exciting time. It's the right time to be doing this.
Co-curator Jill D'Alessandro.
I just wanted to raise awareness. I do think that there is a little bit of a notion in mainstream America or even in European cultures that there isn't a lot of creativity or that Muslim women have a restricted dress codes. And I think one of the things that we really wanted to celebrate is that where you can still dress within your tradition, but there's tons of creativity and that there is a lot of personal style.
On display, some 80 ensembles by more than 50 designers. From glamorous gowns and couture fashion worn by Qatari royalty to leisure and sportswear, including Nike's Pro Hijab line worn by U.S. Olympic fencer Ibtihaj Mohammed. Most of the clothing is from the Middle East and Southeast Asia, with a sprinkling of American and European designers and an emphasis on youth.
Half the designers in the exhibition are women between the ages of 20 and 30. And so it's these women who want to create a wardrobe that fits their lifestyles, and that's really exciting.
This is what's called modest fashion, concerned with covering much of the body, often but not exclusively based on religious teachings and customs. The term hijab, often used to refer to headscarves worn by Muslim women, describes the act of covering up generally. But it quickly becomes clear here that modesty means different things in different places and to different people.
A lot of us are kind of like, oh, I wish we could change up the name a little bit. You know, I like to use the word discreet or just a little bit more mysterious, you know.
What's wrong with modest?
Modesty, I don't know. I think sometimes people get this like boring image of like a grandmother or, you know, somebody in dowdy clothes. And that's not, you know, you can see here, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. Subha Ali, American-born of Pakistani descent, was an advisor to the exhibition. A personal stylist by profession, she helped arrange the headscarves and other clothing on the mannequins. She also lent her own wedding dress, a beautiful ensemble she found in her parents' homeland.
I feel like it's getting a lot more action here than it actually did at my wedding reception.
A lot more attention?
A lot more attention, a lot more people are seeing it. It's being photographed so beautifully.
Now the mother of 4, she says she grew up amid modest clothing, but made her own decision to start wearing a headscarf only when she was in college.
Within, you know, the Muslim community, there are different levels of modesty that women adhere to, and it's really a woman's own choice. And I find that really ironic because when people see a covered woman, they just assume that, you know, it's so anti-feminist, and you know somebody must have told her to do that.
That's the stereotype.
That's the
certainly.
stereotype, yeah. And that's what we're trying to, you know, open up hearts and minds to here. You know, I'm not living in a country where maybe my headscarf is understood, so it's almost like a duty upon me to go out and kind of look my best.
There are countries and cultures where clothing restrictions are imposed. Think of Iran's morality police. And controversies continue. In 2016, for example, the burkini, combining the words for burqa and bikini, was temporarily banned in some French towns. But millions of Muslim women around the world are making their own choices, as celebrated in this music video of Mona Haidar's Wrap My Hijab. And the modest fashion industry has exploded, already estimated at more than several $100 billion worldwide and growing fast. It's seen on magazine covers, in fashion shows around the globe, in the art world, and on social media, where fashion is often used to address social and political issues.
Everybody has a different level of modesty.
It's also now breaking into mainstream fashion lines.
I've even seen, a lot of women that aren't Muslim wear them because they're just so stylish.
Lisa Vogel, a fashion photographer who converted to Islam in 2011, launched the Verona collection 4 years later in Orlando, Florida. Earlier this year, it was picked up by Macy's, the first major U.S. department store to sell hijabs.
When we launched Verona, there were modest clothing available, and there was clothing available for hijabis, but there wasn't necessarily hijab-friendly clothing with women that adhere to an American style sense.
In fact, the rise of modest fashion goes beyond any particular religion, according to Washington Post fashion critic Robin Givhan.
There's also the shift in just the way that women are thinking about and approaching fashion, particularly now in the realm of Me Too. Who decides what is sexy? Who decides what's powerful?
In the United States, with our divisive politics, which is so often around religion, some of it very focused on Islam and Muslims, is it possible to have this conversation, to see a fashion exhibition without putting it in a political context?
Probably not, and I don't even know that you'd want to take it outside of the political context. I think you need that in order to really understand, to some degree, how provocative some of the pieces are.
The exhibition Contemporary Muslim Fashions closes later this week. It goes next to a museum in Frankfurt, Germany. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown at the de Young Museum in San Francisco.